So welcome to the June meeting of the Simsbury Clean Energy Task Force. Thanks for watching the show tonight. We got a great show for you. We're waiting on 2 members to join the meeting. And so in the meantime, though, one of the main item on our agenda tonight is our energy plan. So why don't I share that on screen, and we can kind of noodle around on it and then bring the other 2, Tim and Bob, up to speed when they get here. So, all right, let me see if I can share my screen. So, I didn't change a lot from the version that I sent out after the last meeting. So I think you'll find it's pretty much the same. I cleaned up a little bit of the wording. And this is very similar to what we had 2 years ago. This page is new. And I like the the theme on this is kind of putting it in context. And part of it, I like this second to the last paragraph. Disruption affords us an opportunity to recover and rebuild in a deliberate way, not back to normal, but back to better. To choose a different path, a different energy path, a clean, equitable, and just path, a path that is sustainable for the future. The choice is ours. I mean, we were just, in a small way, we were just talking about that with, are we going to go back to everybody coming to meetings, or is it going to be virtual? I think so. I think we're not going to just go back to the way things were. This, I think I fixed maybe some numbers on this, but basic idea here, Simsbury spends $78 million a year on energy, or $3,500 per person. And that's everything. That's electricity, that's heating oil, that's gasoline. We could, one of the things I was thinking, we could have a high level theme here that by moving to this new plan, we could significantly save. But I don't know if we have a reliable estimate of what those numbers would be. We still have a problem with the data, and we're probably not going to get it fixed. I think Eversource has understated the 2020 figures. That the commercial is lower, we're not surprised, although it's that much lower is surprising. But the residential, we would think, would actually be higher with everybody working from home. And we did see that with the UI data, but we're Eversource, so so one question for us to consider. Katie, who cannot be here tonight, Katie Maggiore, she had some comments. I think it was subsequent to our last meeting that we've got 2 choices for this page. So the graph on the left kind of shows, how much energy we're using. It builds up these blue bars to this total of 884 gigawatt hours. And then if we electrify everything and become more efficient, we can reduce how much electricity we use, reduce how much we use to heat and transportation by switching to EVs. And our new load is dramatically lower, 353. We think we could maybe site 115 of that in town, and the rest we're going to need from the grid. And that 353 is all electric, right? We're in an all electric world. And interestingly, it's about twice the electricity load we have today. So we're going to stop using gas and oil and propane and everything, but we're going to use a lot more electricity. And then the graph on the right shows how over time, this big red section of what's non-renewable goes down. We start deploying more renewables, some in town, some regionally, and we get much more efficient and we electrify everything. So our overall load goes down. So in the end, we're using a lot less, and it's all clean. It's all renewable. The alternative to this graph, and I'll spoiler, I'll just go ahead and say I prefer this graph because I think, as I just did, you can kind of explain that in 2 or 3 sentences. This is the other one we had last time. And this is actually more detailed, right? This is, and this is based on this model that we've run that shows today how much oil, heating oil, how much gas, how much, so that's natural gas, how much gasoline we're using today. And interestingly, those are a much bigger share of our energy load than this stuff is all from the grid. So this dark brown is what's coming from the grid that's non-renewable. It's natural gas power plants. They finally shut down the last coal plant in Bridgeport, and the orange is nuclear. And over time, how we build up clean renewables, both locally and regionally, and we end up same story in the end with a lot less, but also it's all clean. Some local, some regional. This one's a little harder to sort of process. So I think maybe for this energy plan, we want to use this one. You know, at some point in some presentation where we have time to really go through it in detail, this is an interesting graph, but.
What's the like primary, what do you think the primary consumption of this deck is going to be? Is it going to be in like web-based people accessing it, or is it really something we're going to present out to the board and that'll be that?
We're going to, that's a good question. And that depends on what we do. But I think we need to, this never got approved by the Board of Selectmen. So we want to actually go back before the board. We want to go, I think ideally, we really want to get this word out. Yeah. We want to go to, we could go to some of those. We went a couple of years ago to some of the boards. We went to Board of Finance, went to Board of Education, a couple others. Actually, I don't know that we went to Board of Ed. Did we? We went to maybe a couple people in Board of Ed. We might go to the Chamber of Commerce or Rotary. So yeah, it's going to be lay people.
Yeah. So in that case, the slide 6. Yeah, I think I'm on the same page. Maybe there's supporting documentation in like a cell sheet or an appendix or something that can reference some more in-depth.
Yep.
But I think that's a good idea.
You know, this one's all made up numbers. Right? It's basically a straight line from here to here and here to there with some randomness built in through a random number generator, just to make it look kind of real. Whereas this is an actual series of assumptions about, how quickly we're going to stop burning oil and how quickly we're going to stop burning gasoline by electrifying, right? So there's actually a lot of assumptions actually behind there. Yeah. But I think it's overkill for this, I think.
And probably both positive and negative assumptions. Like you're probably not accounting for certain technological impacts, but are accounting for some that we know are existing today and when those are going to come out. So probably better off, because we don't necessarily have all the, I'm sure like it's well researched obviously, but since immediately on the slide they won't have those facts to back up the individual items. Yeah, the bulk view makes more sense, I think.
All right.
We have Bob.
There's Bob. Hey, Bob.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Sorry to be a bit tardy.
No problem. So what do we have? 5 people, right? 1, 2, 3.
4, 3.
And then Amy and Tim. So we actually have a quorum now. What we think about is we'll kind of noodle through the energy plan a little bit. And Tim's putting his children down, and then he will join us.
Okay.
And then we can do minutes and some of the stuff we need to vote on when Tim's here.
All right. Is this where you are in the energy plan? You've been walking through it?
We just got started, and the only thing we've kind of, I think, decided is, or are recommending, this page, we have 2 versions of this graph on the right. This is the one that is kind of simplified, right? It's, it shows today we're using almost all non-renewables, and over time we're going to build up renewables and we're going to become a lot more efficient and electrify everything. So in the end, we're using a lot less energy and it's all renewable. that's easier to kind of interpret, whereas this one is a little hard to follow. It takes more time to process it, and I can see if we're presenting this to a larger group, this one might be a little harder. Plus, it just kind of looks more dramatic. So we're thinking this would be for the purposes of this presentation, this would be the better one, the easier one to. This one, by the way, is very similar to the West Hartford.
I mean, it may be, I think there's a lot of value in the other one, but it may be an appendix kind of item.
Right. Yep. I agree too. Did I keep the West Hartford? Let me
Or whatever.
quick pull up the West Hartford one.
Mark, can I go back to the earlier page where you asked a question about looking at savings? I just think as the recent story at Exxon and the shareholders at Exxon shows that, renewables makes not just environmental sense, but it makes economic sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's possible, but to show the economic savings that come of this, that this isn't just, a movement of do-gooders, but it's actually like going to save the taxpayers of Simsbury, money in the long run. And I think, for those people who maybe aren't full-fledged environmentalists, to be able to just say, like, listen, you're going to save money in the long run. This is a better economic plan.
Yeah.
And I don't know what kind of work it would take or what kind of numbers you possibly have on that. But I just think that adds so much more to the argument if it's at all possible.
Yeah, I'll actually just add to that. There was it caught some virality on Twitter. Westport just added 2 additional electric vehicles to their police fleet, Teslas, and they produced, over the course of the vehicle's life, they produced a one-pager that shows their price with the Teslas versus the price with the Ford whatever vehicle they were using, and it went viral. It's a powerful message, especially when you can't just simply sell climate change. Exactly. Yep, sure. Yeah. Exactly.
Barry, I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. That's something we've talked a lot about in this committee. I think I think if we're going to do something like that, and I agree that we should, we have to agree that this is a snapshot in time, because that market is evolving and changing so rapidly.
Right.
And it's a matter of what is the resistance in the House and the state Senate on utilities to distributed generation, and that kind. I mean, there's so many factors, but in my view and what I read, which is certainly I'm not an expert, we have reached grid parity with renewables.
Yep.
The case for renewables, the case for electrification is going to only get stronger, but it already exists. And I think if we're able to put something that Barrett's suggesting in there, that would only make it stronger.
So here's any estimate of what this is going to cost over time is a crapshoot. But this model that we use to get to this chart is also takes a look at the economics. And so the upper left here, this is what we're spending today. You saw that number before, 78 million. We're spending $78 million a year. And here's how it breaks down. Here's how much electricity. We got that number from Eversource. Here's how much natural gas. We got that number from CNG. We estimate by getting the grand list and counting up buildings and estimating how much oil heat is used per building, that we're using this many gallons of heating oil. Other heat, this is actually, this is natural gas. We're assuming this is natural. We probably should assume this is oil heat because we have more oil heat in Simsbury, but that's a detail. And then transportation, similarly, we get a list of vehicles from the grand list, and we break them down by class and look at, make assumptions about annual mileage and miles per gallon. We estimate we're using 9.6 million gallons of gasoline a year. We throw in some prices, and you get an estimate of how much Simsbury spends on energy, and that's municipal residents, businesses. And in this graph here, that's 77 million. We could continue to spend 77 million every year. right? Forgetting growth and inflation right now. This is just a sort of simplified view. So
Electricity cost never changes is the model.
Right, in this simplified, if we just don't change anything, we just keep spending 77 million a year.
Which is highly conservative.
Yep. So over 30 years, we would spend $2.3 billion. So if you said, well, 2.3 billion is our budget now, and so we're going to actually build out some local renewables. We'll give you 197 million to build 115 megawatt of local solar. The grid is going to have to be built out to supply the part that we can't do locally. That's going to be another 109 million. And these are based on prices of offshore wind, prices of utility scale solar and all that. We're going to throw in an extra 35 to build out the grid for storage and some other features. We're going to give you $58 million to electrify all the vehicles in town. For private passenger, we're actually, as Phil was just saying, we're pretty much at cost parity. So it's really zero. It's going to be pretty soon. It's going to be zero extra to electrify private passenger. But the school buses and the work trucks and stuff are going to. So we got $58 million to electrify our fleet. We got $117 million to convert to heat pumps. And these are again all assumptions driven, right?
Sure.
So what you see then is this graph here, where the green is how much we are spending to start to build this grid. And we're not going to do it all overnight, right? So we're going to be spending money over time. The blue is how much we're going to spend electrifying our vehicles and our heat pumps. The red is how much fuel we're going to spend in the meantime. So we're starting at 77, but as we build out this grid, that goes down, right? So then you add this all up. So the 1,112 is how much fuel we're going to spend. It's the sum of this area here until we're done. Add that up, it's 1.6 billion or 700 million less or 30% less than if we just kept literally burning money every year.
So here's a question. I mean, this is a great analysis. Is there a list of this? Because the first thing, look, Simsbury's got a lot of financially savvy people, right? Yep. Is there a list somewhere in here of the assumptions you used?
Yep.
Okay, good.
They're here, and then with the actual projection, you get out here, and you've got these are your capacity factors, and here's your cost per installed watt, capacity factors, cost premium per vehicle, unit fuel cost of building out the grid scale solar, grid scale wind, nuclear. I'm sorry, this is the composition of the grid right here. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, so if you look at this grid, at this chart, right? Oh, I'm waving my cursor around like you can see it. All right. So if you start, at the first year, say 2021, there's a big plus up over what we're spending to begin this process, right?
Right.
So what I'm wondering is, would it be worth doing like a, let's just call it alternative one, and assuming that becomes debt, that the delta becomes debt.
Yep.
And then building in a cost factor for debt service until we're below the flat line 77 or $78 million a year.
Yep.
Right. And then saying, so for the low cost of zero, we can do this.
Yep.
Because I think Baird's point, and you've heard a number of us make this point before, is you don't have to be a tree hugging greenie to think this is a good idea. It assumes that we're tree hugging greenies, right?
Yeah.
But if we can make a pure financial case, and I think it's there, especially if we look at debt service.
This, and I didn't want to overcomplicate this, but this column right here, these annual figures, the 77 million is us spending 78 million every year.
Right, we got to pay the bills.
The 65 is actually your mortgage payment to do this. Your debt service to, right?
So what's the green above the 77 million? The green and blue.
That's building out the grid.
Right, but I guess if we're doing debt, are we assuming that we can't cover it all with debt or what?
You could, yeah. The debt's not figured into this chart.
Okay, that's because I really think there's a great case there. If you can say our municipal energy budget will not go up $1,
Right.
then I don't give a damn if people are, oil-loving fools. And they'll care about climate change and think it's a Chinese hoax.
Yeah.
It's still the right business decision to make.
But yeah, in this one, we're spending more, for the next 15 years. But once we've done that, then we're in this nice zone where our fuel costs go. I mean, what really, we keep tweaking the assumptions, and we will forever on this. But what really is amazing about this graph is the elephant in the room is how much we're spending on fuel each year.
Right? Oh, sure.
And there are vested interests that want us to keep doing that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and a lot of the vested interests are, I'm in town for another 5 years. I don't want my taxes to go up. Even if we save a boatload of money in 10 years, that's not my concern.
Right.
My kids will be out of school. I'll move on. And I get that. And this is why I raised the issue of if you could show this chart with nothing above the 77 million and show it credibly, it would push your return curve out to the right. Right? Because there'd be debt service in there. It would flatten that curve just a little bit. And yet, there's still going to be one hell of a savings. And our budget doesn't go up. And I guess I don't want to get stuck on this and lost in the weeds, but I think the point Baird made is so important. I think there's a curve that's easily showable.
We could add a line right in here that says if we carry out this plan and reach these targets, we will lower our energy costs by, and then put a number in there. The problem with this graph is it really does take a little explanation, right?
Yeah, of course. But somebody's going to ask.
Yeah.
For the purposes of presentation, you can make bold claims and glib statements. But once, the questions start, and again, considering that we've got so many people that are very financially savvy, if we had, even if it was copy that sheet and make it all to one, and say, here's the borrowing, here's debt service, and here's how the budget doesn't change. I mean, that would be.
And Mark, I know you've done this presentation a million times in different places, but I imagine that the first question you get in many places is, "What's it going to cost?" Right? What's it going to cost me?
Yeah.
And I just think if you put that forward, that we figure that out, and it's going to be a cost savings. I just think that's so much more powerful. But
what we could do is. We could just add a line to this, that this is the spending 78 million every year. Put a line below it that would be our mortgage payment if we took out a loan to do this.
I mean, that would work, but it's still visual. I'm going to get stuck on visually, but visually that green piece above the 2021 line says, is the answer to the question Baird postulates is, it's going to cost more initially.
That's kind of a thing with just clean energy in general. I think China's kind of the proof of that. They're going to spike their energy output in the short term, but they're on pace to go energy independent faster than many industrialized nations. So it's an upfront call. And so for a deck like this, where the intention's really to get a point across quickly, maybe that point's going to be missed by its inclusion. But I like the idea of doing something like in slide 5, this can lower our energy cost by X, and that would get the message across. We'd have the figures, the model to back that up, and can always reference it as an appendix item.
I'll play around with this. I think what I'm hearing, Bob, you want to see this where we never go above that 78.
Yeah,
We're using debt to stay below that.
it's the difference when we had solarized. It's kind of the difference between going out and buying your own solar power plant and doing a PPA,
Right.
where you don't pay anything, but you don't get quite the break on your electricity that you would.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yep.
It's the exact same model, right? So what I'm suggesting is there's a hybrid in there where, yes, we do build it out, but we build it out on debt, which only doesn't change this curve. It just pushes it out to the right.
Yep.
And that way we don't have to hit the citizens of Simsbury's pocketbooks at all.
Yep.
Or maybe it becomes a small amount or something. But and look, we're not the authorities on that, right? We're not going to make that decision. I would like to show the two models here. If we just jack the budget up, this is what it looks like. Here, if we do debt, this is what it looks like. And then, that becomes up to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, great idea.
Really not us.
Yep. It's like a performance contract.
Yeah, exactly. Except we own it.
All right, I'll play around with that. My guess is we're not going to want this graph to be prominent in our energy plan, but we should stick it in the appendix and then put the claim in. And then if people say, if people ask, we'll say, "Glad you asked. We'll show you this. Take 5 minutes."
I was hoping you'd say that.
And you can do it no money down today.
Oh my God. Sales, buddy.
So we'll go with this one.
Yeah, I love that graph.
And we'll stick this one in the appendix.
Yep. Hey, can I, even though I'm the late guy, can I ask you to go back to like the second slide and the third slide in the deck?
At this one or this one?
One more.
One more.
So this is nuance. It occurred to me that the order of those bullets on the left may not be our most advantageous.
Good call out.
So savings, yep, all good. I think comfort or resiliency should be next, because people are tired of losing their power and stuff.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of grumbling about that on Facebook and stuff. And again, it's just a matter of hitting people where they live. And health, again, that's a long-term effect.
So savings, comfort, resiliency, health.
Sure.
Good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take us astray, but when I was reviewing it, that just hit me. Yeah.
Good. And this, we decided to keep this approach description from the West Hartford plan. But we didn't totally redesign our entire plan, because their plan really follows that model all the way through. And I just thought that's going to be a bunch of retooling that, but I like the approach. I think it's, because it is, I think, Phil, you were asking, what are we going to do with this plan when we're done? And this gets into a little bit. We're going to see community input, get different perspectives. We're going to do education and outreach. We're going to facilitate and support participation in these programs, and develop and support policy and planning. So I like this.
And you might, just to add on, you might find that you have, in bringing this to different groups, that we have other supporting content that does fit more into that flow. Maybe not the energy plan itself, but like these are good, I guess, containing topics. And we might want to talk about those in more depth at like individual forums.
Yep. And then those 4 steps are shown in these little icons here. And then we've kind of converted these bars. There were slightly different versions in West Hartford, but we're kind of taking their format. But these are what we had before. We have energy efficiency in buildings, heating and cooling, renewable, transportation, microgrids.
Yep.
Nice.
I put in a picture of the Performing Arts Center.
Okay.
But if anybody's got other pictures, we've got the one on the front page of the skating center. Love that.
Yeah, I love that whole
It's a great picture.
project.
I don't think we want to put Tobacco Valley Solar in here.
What
kind,
about
of light, kind of a Tobacco Valley Solar. It's kind of a lightning rod.
Yeah, it's awesome though.
Yeah.
That the one with the COVID and all the words about social stuff. I just want to give us some backup on that. For a totally unrelated reason, I've been doing like a listing. I'm doing a little presentation here next week on the trends in ESG, environmental social governance, and like every major consulting firm, McKinsey, Standard & Poor's, pick 'em, EY, they're all talking about investor pressure on social equity. So this is very timely and very current.
And it's not like an add-on. It's just built into what we're doing.
Right.
Yep.
And it's something that will inform every one of those areas of focus.
Yep. And I like this paragraph. Disruption affords us an opportunity to recover and rebuild in a deliberate way, not back to normal.
Yep.
And then these pages are largely what they were. I updated some of the numbers and some tweaks. And these, I don't know if everybody saw these before. This is data from Energize CT. And what it shows is Simsbury's participation in the different programs that they offer. So the upper left is residential efficiency. So the blue bars are each year how many households did home energy solutions audits, HES audits. And the orange are HES income eligible. So the low and moderate income, and then the gray are residential new construction. So those are programs that Eversource or the utilities offer. And the yellow line is the percentage of the town, the cumulative percentage of households in town that have taken advantage of these programs compared to the state level in the green. So we're better than the state in residential efficiency programs. Below that is residential efficiency rebate. So once you probably did a HES audit, did you get an appliance rebate? Did you get an insulation rebate or incentive, or HVAC, a heat pump or whatever? Natural gas hot water heater, I think is what that is, the next one. And then again, so we're doing pretty well on the residential side. And then upper right is business and municipal. And there's a range of programs. I think small business energy advantage. And I don't even know what half these programs are, but they are things that Eversource offers to businesses and municipalities. And these, and then lower right is Phil got these numbers. These are the numbers in town, a number of residents participating in energy assistance programs.
These are nice. I'm really actually kind of surprised about those numbers.
Yeah. And you can see, we were looking at, I'll pull this up. We were looking at this the other night. Who are we talking about? Middletown. So we've got the spreadsheet, and you can put any town in. And you can see campaigns make a difference. In 2014, Middletown did a campaign to reach out to low and moderate income. and look at all these orange, and look at the spike in their cumulative percentage, right? So campaigns can make a difference. Just like, speaking of campaigns can make a difference, look at our percentage of solar.
Yeah.
What happened there in 2013?
Solarize.
Right? So we could actually drive some of these numbers up, I think. If we, over the next year, did a serious HES campaign, and now may not be the best time because the contractors are so busy. But at some point, we could really drive some of these numbers up, right?
Yeah. Hey, not to flog a dead horse here, but that piece in Middletown that you showed us. I mean, we're talking about what's the sale there? You reach out to low and moderate income. The sale isn't you're saving the world. The sale is you can save money.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
And you can see it didn't make that much of a difference in their standard programs. It's the low income programs. That's what they want after. So
right. Yeah.
It's about the messaging.
So I don't think we need to go through all these in detail, but if anybody wants to go through this and add things, if there's any areas you're particularly interested in, we then get to this page, which is kind of the most important slide. This is what we're going to do. And I think in particular, over the next sort of, let's be serious about what we're putting down here for the 2021-22. But what I would suggest is before we do that, let's inform that decision a little bit, because Simsbury is going to be going for sustainable CT certification again. We got certified in spring of 2019. So, and that lasts for 3 years. So we need to redo that by spring of next year. So we're kind of starting to get organized. And so what would be good is let's take a look at the sustainable CT actions that relate to energy, because some of these we might want to try and build into our plans. So we've got two versions of this list. This is the high level. And category 7 is kind of all the energy stuff with a couple exceptions. One of them is where's Cpace? Cpace is in here somewhere. Cpace is under business. Why is that moving around, popping around? There it is. It's under thriving local economies, participate in and promote Cpace program. So that's one. So we got 5 points in 2019, and this is our plan for 2022. So I think we probably get 5 points. Let me open the detailed list. And I think what we should try and do is, as we look at this, really ask ourselves, are we gonna do this? I want 2021. So this is the details. So what does it mean to do the action on Cpace? This would stop moving.
Maybe talk nicely to it.
There, can I go a little bigger? So participate in Cpace. One is pass a municipal resolution to opt into Cpace, sign a legal agreement with Cpace, and post a link to information about Cpace on your municipality's website. I think we can't get that because we already did that once. And that's a new action. So I think we've already done that. Yeah, the next one, encourage local building owners to access Cpace financing by organizing an educational event, conducting an educational outreach to individual property owners, or working with the Connecticut Green Bank on a marketing partnership initiative. That is eligible for rolling credit. So we could do that. We could do a chamber of commerce, or we just do an event at the library, right? Where we maybe bring in a speaker, either from town or from the Green Bank. So that's very doable, I think.
Mark, can I step back for 1 second?
Yeah.
Pardon the ignorance, but like, is 5 points good? Do we like 5 points? Should we shoot for 10 points or 20 points or?
No,
like,
good question.
What does it give us? What does it give Simsbury?
So it's 400 points for silver.
Okay.
3 years ago, we got 425. So it's a heavy lift. I mean, there's lots and lots of actions, right? And our energy plan was 20 points. So, and I'm sorry, I just kind of jumped in here, but because not everybody is familiar with, let me go to the Sustainable CT website. It's easier to view some stuff. I just think, given that we are going to be doing Sustainable CT this year, let's kind of get sort of double our money here, right? So there's 13 categories here. For the first one is basically this equity. 2 is thriving local economies, so land and natural resources. Ecosystems, so cultural ecosystems is part of sustainability. Planning, transportation, and then the energy stuff is in 7. Inclusive engagement, communication, and education. Strategic materials management, optimal health and wellness, healthy, efficient, diverse housing, effective, compassionate homelessness prevention, and innovative strategies and practices. 13, you can kind of make stuff up. And you have to do something in each category. And you go into any one of these. And this is probably a better one to look at. So let's just finish with that Cpace one. Actually, no, I like where we were. This was good. So that gives you kind of a high level flyover. So for Cpace, that one we think is an easy 5 points. And then this one, earn credit for Cpace projects approved by the Green Bank for commercial and industrial buildings undertaking clean energy improvements. Municipalities with fewer than 5 projects may earn 5 points, those with 5 or more. So if we could get the town to do a Cpace, I guess it's municipality, right? Well, commercial and industrial buildings. Anyway, we got to do our homework there, but we could get, maybe another 5 points there. But clearly this event to promote Cpace, I think, is very doable. So that's this one.
That's a one-nighter and some promos.
Right. Other than that, I think most of what we're looking at is going to be here in 7. Benchmark and track energy use. Ray, I think that's going to get, I think we could accomplish a lot of that with the portfolio manager stuff.
All right, the Screaming Kids. Yeah, I think definitely a lot of it's in there, and all the town buildings are in there now, except for the Board of Education. They do their own thing, but they could be put in there if they wanted to be. But other than that, yeah, it tracks everything. It's got a minimum of 2 years for everything. Usually it's got like 10 years because it's all just data we already had. So with that, yeah, they've got a lot of ways you can look at things and benchmark things, and I'm sure we could probably take that and make it work for whatever they need to find there.
So 5 points for maintain current. So 1 is municipal and Board of Ed, and 2 is wastewater. Track energy use of others. So they separated out wastewater treatment plants. Interesting.
That's because that's a big hit.
Yeah.
And they can get an Energy Star rating. The WPCA can. They haven't got one yet on Energy Star because there are a couple of things data-wise that hadn't been put in yet. But the WPCA itself can get an Energy Star rating. It's actually one of the few buildings we have that can get rated. Just because a lot of like the libraries and the schools, they don't really have ratings just because they're so varied and diversified that it's hard to like pin them down. But with the WPCA, if you give them your stats, they can kind of put you into a range for what you should be getting for that building. So
they are on track to get an Energy Star rating at WPCA?
yeah, like I said, it's eligible and we're getting the information into them. I have to check in with, there's a group in Yukon that helps us put the information in there and they were setting it up for them and they have it. I just haven't checked in with them this week to see where they're at with that or if they're missing something.
So 7.1 is just tracking. So if you've got 2 full years of benchmarking data within the past 3 years for municipal and Board of Ed buildings, that's 5 points.
If we don't now, we'll definitely have it by the time we're eligible. So,
and if you got 2 full years on the
Yeah.
wastewater treatment plant, that's another 5 points, irrespective of what rating those buildings are.
yep,
So there's maybe, I'm going to
there you go.
put in 10 points. I'll consult Ray here, or Public Works.
Yeah. I can probably give you access to it if you want. So I'll have to ask.
Put that in the wrong place. 10 points here. It's new. So, and this reduce energy use across all municipal buildings.
We just did a lighting upgrade in 3 buildings in town, and they're looking at a couple, I think one more spot. So at minimum, I don't know exactly what they're looking for, but they just did energy efficient lighting upgrades with the Eversource, whatever their program's called. So we put in all new lighting at the library and town hall and at the ice rink at the
So this one is up to 50 points. A lot of potential points here.
Yeah.
And we have to kind of benchmark it looks like. Achieve an overall weighted energy. So anyway, I don't want to get into the weeds too much tonight, but I think, Ray, this is stuff maybe we can take offline.
Yeah, we can see where we're at and we can look to see what we're doing that fits in that timeline. I think it's going to be the only issue really because we're always doing stuff to improve efficiency just because it's good business. And so it's just what fits in that timeline. Obviously, those line upgrades are right in that timeline. So
I mean, big points here, right?
yeah,
And this one is all on the wastewater treatment plant. So let's stay here. And then this is what you're talking about a little bit before, I think, achieve high energy performance for individual buildings. So within the Energy Star, if somebody's a 75 or above, there's points there.
yeah. And like I said, it's tough because a lot of the buildings we have are just not eligible. If the school got involved, and some of the schools might be eligible, but like a lot of just the municipal buildings, just they're so weird that just isn't good ratings for them, except for the WPCA, which again we might have one for, and it probably should be pretty good rating because they do a good job there. But I can't say until we actually get it what it is. So.
So these are things we can put into our energy plan too, right?
Mhm.
The things we're going to do. Now this
Well,
one,
Mark, I think this is where you started this discussion is if we're going to, go through the actions, the energy plan, let's let it be informed by where we're heading on this. This is a more immediate undertaking. And I also think there's kind of a cross-pollination there too, where, they may not be thinking, the Sustainable CT Committee may not be thinking about certain things that we're considering in the energy plan. So I think there's a real opportunity to cross-pollinate.
so,
Chairman's thinking about all of it.
and then here's 7.4, power municipal buildings, including Board of Ed, with electricity produced by on-site solar installation and or via virtual net metering. So this is 10 points will be awarded for each 10% of your energy use that is powered by renewable sources. So the question is, do we get to count some stuff we've done?
Ongoing, would it still count? Because we're still using the solar at the buildings that have them. So.
And so that's a question we can look into when, like the skating center wasn't that long. It was since we got certified before. I don't know whether this
Yeah, because you got the certification like the same week that they opened up the ice rink. So I think that was like in the same month, November of 2019, because that's when I started. I just pulled out his cup saying making ice from the sun or whatever it was, and they just done the ribbon cutting. It started a month before that, but it was fall of 2019. So that was just after you guys got certified.
I don't know if it's realistic to get another solar project done before?
I mean, you're bidding on the high school this year, right? So if they can get that going, at least you might be far enough along to count it. If
That's probably the only one we have a shot at, because that's already, they've actually
nothing of any size, anyways.
they've issued an RFP for that.
Yeah.
What's the timeline for the next junior high edition?
We've got that information.
Because I know there's some talk about actually doing the right thing on that at this time.
When did we get that?
Did I say that out loud, Ray? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it was recorded too, so it's
I
for.
thought that was an inside voice.
You mean a roof, or you mean a capital project, right?
You're talking about the third phase at Henry James?
Yeah, they're talking about, because they're going to do the going to move, so what is it, 6th grade there?
Fiscal year, so Henry James 6th grade edition, fiscal year 21-22.
So that's coming. And then, I know I think we've been engaged, and Mark, you've mentioned a couple of times that some of the people that might have been barriers in the past have moved on. And we have a much more willing group of people driving at the Board of Ed. So I think there's a real opportunity to realize some savings, some alt energy, we'll call it clean energy.
So
project goes forward.
Yep. So that's a good one to and then there's Latimer. We've had that conversation. I doubt we'll get anything done in time for this sustainable CT round, but those are definitely good things to put in the energy plan. Let me go back to here. Here's the municipal energy plan. Develop a plan that includes energy tracking and management, energy reduction goals and actions, and clean energy goals. And we got to make sure that these are in there. We got credit for our energy plan before. So I think the fact that we're updating this now, we can treat it as rolling credit and potentially get 10 points for municipal and 10 points for residential. Install efficient exterior lighting. Now, what were you saying, Ray, about? I think our lighting, the street lights was a while ago.
Yeah, it was 2017. So it would just matter if it's the street lights still have LEDs. Is it still rolling in that sense, or it would have to be a new? Because we did all the street lights in town. So
yeah.
But then the fact that we've installed like 3 street lights since then that are new, that then are LED, but they're new lights. I don't know if that would count either. So that would be the only question.
Here's a question about that, because I think this is like a larger point. Hey, we got silver in the last go round in 19. When you go to kind of re-up your application to retain that silver rating, does it wipe out everything you've already done? It seems like if you're still using the LEDs that you bought last time, those are part of your mix, right? Because your baseline is before that.
It seems very hit or miss what they've said. Some things, like if you're using solar and there's something you get credit for solar and you still have the solar, you can get credit for it. But then if it's like an action, like install lighting, you might not get credit for it. So it's kind of a little bit wishy-washy. Very much they're kind of figuring out as they go from what I gather from them. So it's kind of like if you're using 10% of your energy is like renewable, if you're still doing that, then you can count that. But if it's like, do an action, that seems to be more of what they're trying to get you just not count the same action over and over again. It's like long-term items that you use, then that's kind of where you can still get credit for them. That's kind of the sense I get.
So we have, it's a great question, Bob, and the answer is it's complicated.
I had so many things.
I had a call with, we have what they call fellows for sustainable CT, these college students working for the summer.
Right.
And they did this great document. I tell you, we had a call, and I think the same day they sent this to me. So here's the answer to that question. For item action 762, converting your street lights, action type, it's an implementation project. It's not eligible for rolling credit. That was completed for the 2019 certification, cannot be resubmitted.
Oh.
We could do new street lights or something, but I don't think that's going to happen, right?
So that's a weirdness in this program, man, because like we're still using LEDs, we're still saving that energy. So we're gonna end up with bronze because like we don't get new ones. It seems kind of counterproductive.
Sorry, what do you mean?
Is it, did you not hear that?
I don't think I understood.
So what like if we got silver the first go round.
Yeah.
And then part of that silver rating was we got LEDs, right? We moved from incandescents to LEDs or whatever we had sodiums. So now, a couple years later, kind of still using those LEDs, we're still saving that energy. We haven't gone back, but we could lose those points and potentially drop down a level in certification because we didn't go buy new ones.
Yeah, I guess it's because sustainable CT is not about sort of, it's more about things you're doing, right? So you have to keep doing stuff, I think, to keep your rating. All right, you can't just kind of rest on your laurels and.
Yeah, okay, I get that. That's one way to look at it. I
Um,
didn't make it up, so I'm fine.
So now this one, I don't know, create a street light inventory and lighting needs assessment. That would probably be hard given everything. I don't think there's any.
So we have an inventory that we did as part of the purchase, but I don't know if we necessarily did like a study to go with it. So we'd have to find funding to do that and then find a way to implement it. But other than just having some money set aside every year for repairs, we don't really have any money for doing anything else than that right now. So that's kind of where we're at, I think.
So municipal energy plan, I don't think we're going to get anything here for exterior light. I'm going to put a 0 in there. Implement a community energy campaign. Let me stay here. And this is, I think, fairly broad. So we could do an efficiency campaign. We could do a heat pump campaign. We could do a solar campaign.
Does an efficiency campaign count?
Yep, I think so.
Because I think that's the next one.
Yep, energy efficiency measures. I don't know if, can you do more than one here? All elements must be, so you got to do all 3 things to get 10 points. You got to identify your target audience. You got to select or design a campaign and then carry out the campaign.
I have to do that to do a campaign.
I wonder if you can get multiple, if you can do more than one campaign, but so this is something I wanted to talk about. And it's probably a larger discussion, but we could do an efficiency campaign. We kind of did a half-hearted one before. We did we didn't even do a mailing. We may have put something on Facebook. Eric Wellman and I went on Simsbury Community TV, but that's it. Efficiency campaigns are kind of tough right now because contractors are booking out in the fall already. They're just so busy. The other campaign that we might consider is something that Pace, People's Action for Clean Energy, is conducting in a couple of towns, and it's called Heat Smart. It's a heat pump campaign. It's a fair amount of work where it's like a Solarize for heat pumps, where you pick an installer, maybe 2, who are really good with heat pumps. There's installers that all they want to do is oil and propane,
right.
But there's some that really do get heat pumps and want to promote heat pumps. And you do like a Solarize. You do a series of outreach events. And like the one in Brantford, they got over 400 people to do home energy solutions audits. And now they're gradually working their way through some of those to get heat pump quotes. It's a lot more complicated than solar, right? You can do a solar quote in like a day.
Right.
You can even do it remote, right, from Google Earth. And it's fairly standard and it's fairly non-invasive to the house, right? Whereas heat pump, the conversation immediately gets to, well, what do you have now? You have gas, you have oil, you have forced air, do you have radiators? How old is the furnace? And so it's how well insulated is the house? What's the building envelope like? So it's not the kind of thing. I think for Solarize we had like 84 sales of solar with our Solarize campaign. We're not going to get 84 heat pumps, right? You might get a couple, but you will raise awareness about heat pumps. So, and Pace gives a marketing grant, so it's free mailings and things. So that's something for us to consider. Or we could do another solar. Fairfield's done like 6 Solarizes, right?
I think a lot of the incentives have gone away, haven't they?
No, it's still 26% this year.
Really?
And I've heard Biden might even either extend it or maybe even increase it.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
If he increases it, that would be the perfect jumpstart for a Solarize.
Yeah, solar might be better than I don't know. Efficiency would be great. Efficiency, it's like everybody should do one of these HES audits, and we're still only about 20-25% of the town.
Yeah, 26, 27.
But Solarize, I bet you we could get another good bunch of, because a lot of people just haven't processed it the way people did when we did it before, and there's new people and the prices have come down.
The world has shifted in terms of awareness of carbon and climate change and such. What was the year we did it, like 13, 14?
Yeah.
The world has hugely shifted in that piece of time.
I think it's a great idea.
Solar?
I'd be in favor of a Solarize.
Yeah, me too.
Nevin would get behind and help again.
Yep.
What you combine it? If you could do like an efficiency plus Solarize, I think that would be.
I agree.
That I like too.
I agree. If you're talking to people, let's do both. Yep. And we can now start to gather again, right? We could do a workshop.
Yeah, the timing wasn't ideal last time. In the middle of COVID, I remember people saying they just couldn't get someone to come out. They were all booked out for, several months. So hopefully our timing's a bit better.
Yep.
Or on the other side, a lot of people just didn't want anybody in their house. Man, I know I had to have a couple of repairs.
Yep.
And it's like, you got a mask. It was a little weird having people in your house.
We would have to do it ourselves. Before the Green Bank supported, and there was Smart Power helping us. So we would have to find our own installer, pick our own installer. But there are a lot of good ones out there. We could do a little beauty contest, put out an RFP, and then we'd have to. We have a little money, so we could use that for yard signs and a mailing, or social media or whatever. We could, other than that, we can copy the whole concept. We have solar ambassadors. We could do a demonstration of an installation in town. I think we did that, right? Didn't we?
I like that.
Yeah, and at any event we have, Barrett, I think, made the point. Let's just talk, HES at the same time.
So here's another 10 points for the taking if someone wanted to develop and implement an educational campaign for owners of multifamily properties.
Interesting.
And then another 5 to track multifamily buildings. And this one, I wonder if that's been done. One of the really cool things about Sustainable CT is all of the stuff that's here on the website. If we go down here to, what was that, 7, 8?
You do know you're not sharing your screen, right?
I'm not sure how much.
Just check.
I do that. I have this delusion that people are seeing what I see. Thank you.
Let's just go down here.
So let me start over here. So you go to this page that about, and then you go to participating communities. And there's the map of all the towns that are participating, or at least registered. go down to one of the actions, 7.8, check it, and then filter. And you can see who has done this. Only one. Glastonbury did it, and we can look at their report. So we could steal their plan. We benchmark energy water usage. So benchmark energy water use, multifamily buildings that have had energy water benchmark. So that's interesting. That one didn't seem familiar. So there weren't many towns that, there's only one that had done that. Whereas usually for any item, you're going to get a handful of towns. So if any of these kind of catch anybody's interest, there's 10 points right there. Overview of your, and I'm sure when it says develop and implement an educational campaign for owners of multifamily properties, that's not, you don't have to reinvent it. I'm sure there's stuff, either what Glastonbury did. What's interesting, just on a side note, as an owner of a multifamily property, I just got this invitation to take part in an event hosted by Eversource. Anyway, I'm not going to find it quickly. But it was all about that. So maybe I'll go to that and see if I can get some ideas. All right, so that, I think we've gone through all of the energy-related sustainable CT stuff. So Tim has not made it.
Does that put us short of a quorum?
No, we got a quorum. All right, we got 4.
Wait, Barrett, are you officially on the committee now?
We have 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, we have 3. But three is 3 a quorum of 5?
3 out of 5, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So Amy McLean cannot make it tonight.
Yeah, no.
So maybe what I can do rather than drag everybody through this now is I will I'll put into here a couple things we just talked about. And why don't we just spend a few more minutes looking at this? Maybe we can go through it at our next meeting and try to finalize this thing. But I think what's really important is the stuff that we have in the 2021-22 plans, right? Because that really is what we're going to try and do over the next year. So let's just go through these. Complete a schedule of upcoming municipal building HVAC roof upgrades. We've gotten that. Check. Issue RFP for solar arrays on school buildings and parking lot. Check. Complete assessment and plans for EV charging infrastructure. Now that actually, there may be some sustainable CT stuff there too. I should look. We didn't look under transportation. But that would be a cool project for somebody to do an assessment, to lead the charge on doing an assessment of how EV ready is Simsbury.
We have one at Town Hall.
And there are some good, it would probably be a brutal assessment, but there are some good resources that I can share with folks. One of them, I'll just quickly show you. I did a really good workshop on EVs, and I actually filled out our self-assessment for Simsbury. I've actually done it. But it was kind of like I flew through it. I won't show you what I put in for our answers, but just the questions here I thought were good. So this actually could almost be it. So EV policy. Has your city adopted a comprehensive plan? So do we even have a plan?
No.
Are EVs addressed in it? Have EVs been acknowledged as a priority for market transformation? Have co-benefits? So this is all in this plan. Have deployment goals been set? Have equity issues been identified? EV policy and metrics. Has your city developed a downtown plan, a neighborhood plan, or other specific area master plan? Yes, right? We have a Simsbury Center Zone stuff. Are EVs addressed in it? No. So there's a lot of stuff here about are EVs in our POCD, our Plan of Conservation Development, for example.
Yeah.
And then there's functional plans like energy, transportation, housing. Yes, we do. We have an energy plan. Are EVs in it? Yes. Does the plan, let me skip ahead a little bit. Has your community assessed existing deployment of EVs and EV chargers? Has your community set goals for EV deployment, public realm or community-wide? Does the city zoning ordinance or parking standards refer to electric vehicles? So anyway, a lot of really good questions in here. It's like it's like how many questions are there? 90 questions that I think are, and I've got a couple other documents as well that I can share that if somebody wanted to sort of do an EV assessment for the town, that could be really cool.
So I'm gonna be Debbie Downer here, because this whole rush to EV is scaring me, because we're losing sight of where we're charging and what kind of energy we're charging them off of. I mean, I'm hearing it from the Biden administration, I'm hearing it from Buttigieg, I'm hearing it in the state, I'm hearing it everywhere. The answer is EVs. Yep, if we're charging them off clean energy. Charging them off coal or oil, not so much. So I want to be very, as a task force, as a community, I want to be pretty careful about, joining this headlong push for EVs. Yes, EVs as part of energy transformation, absolutely. Plus, it's not a whole lot more fun to drive than an EV.
Well, I hear you. It's only part of the solution.
Yeah, and it's something I think every time we talk about EVs, we have to talk about the grid.
Mike, I'd be willing to take on the EV assessment of Simsbury if you want to send that questionnaire to me.
That'd be cool. And I got a bunch of stuff I'll send you, Barry, and I'll be happy to work with you on that. I think that would be really cool, just to, because I think it would, not to sort of jump to the conclusion, but I think we haven't even thought about it yet, right? So there's just so many very simple things that we can just start to do that would start to get our head around it. And I don't think there's any danger that we're going to, do too much too soon.
Yep, that'd be fun.
Review the feasibility of a shared solar facility on town land.
We've done that.
We did, and I know there'll be another round coming up. And Ray, I think you and Tom and I should talk about this, because I talked to Tom before, and I think the context before was, can we take the old proposal we had for Amoresco for the landfill and update it and submit it to the new Shared Clean Energy Facility Program? And Tom checked with the town attorney, and he said, no, we have to do a new RFP. So we have to do a new RFP, get some bids, but we have a project that was already fully scoped and designed. The downside is this SCEF program, this Shared Clean Energy Facility Program, is so anemic. It's 25 megawatt a year. It's better than the 6 that we had before, but it's 25, and it's going to be so oversubscribed. But I still think we should do it, just to kind of put our hat in the ring.
Well, I agree with that. The question becomes, can you get a contractor to be enthused about jumping into a pool that deep?
Right. Yep. I don't know. I know the landfills do get some preference. That is.
It didn't help us last time, did it?
Nope.
Maybe the answer is not to, Ray, you guys have to talk about this in Public Works, was not to jump to an RFP, but maybe do like an industry day, kind of a meeting of interested contractors, have a telecon Zoom meeting or whatever, and gauge interest.
I just think in principle, whether it's the landfill or wherever in town, shared clean energy is part of what we should be trying to do.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to hope that this plan is going to get expanded, or we can somehow get into it. But it's just part of the whole solution, I think. So, Ray, can you just talk with Tom a little bit about that and see if there's, if we can get that going again? Hire an energy manager. We've talked about that, and I think we have interest and support for trying to do it. It's not in our hands right now, but we absolutely need to keep it in there. Conduct an annual.
I can tell you that I've heard Tom talking about it, so it's just a matter of getting it sold and getting someone on board. So it'll probably be a little while, but it's definitely something that there's a lot of momentum to try and get done. So
terrific. That's going to change so much. Conduct the annual update on municipal energy usage using the town's energy monitoring toolkit. I think that's what you're doing, Ray. I think it's a long-winded way. This is another Seek Soul Smart certification of the town. I know Brantford is sort of touted themselves, we're Sustainable CT Silver. We might want to get a Soul Smart certification. It's another kind of a program where you go through and you look at your permitting and you look at processes for approving solar and zoning. And I don't actually know how onerous it is, but I know we touted it up here. We got 4th place. Simsbury ranked number 4 in the state for impact on solar development. There was this study that was done a few years ago, and we ranked highly. So we maybe have a good chance of getting that. But I just threw it in there because I've seen other towns bragging about doing it, and it might be something that we can look into how much work it is. I think one of the things that we should do, I've just put it in here as a goal. We need to do more meetings with town officials. We need to get ourselves in front of Eric and Maria, Eric and Maria on a quarterly basis. We have a liaison, I think, to the Clean Energy Task Force on the board, but we haven't seen that person in a while. So I think we want to just be keeping the conversation going more than we are. So I want to put that in as a goal.
Yeah, I like that.
So that was all general. And then, so this is interesting. This is the resident. Yeah. So this is really kind of general / municipal. And here's residential business. So conduct residential campaign to promote efficiency. Maybe take out heat pumps.
Well, you could just say heat pumps and/or solar. I mean, you leave us the flexibility.
And we could do throw in heat pump hot water heaters, but promote Cpace. So that we talked about doing an event. Boom, check, 5 points. Connect an energy survey. We've talked about this before, because where's Kate Donnelly? Hamden, I think. She did it, and I think I brought that idea to this team before. We talked about it. We said, why? What are we going to get out of it? She did another presentation again at an event that I was at, and she talked all about that and how they got good information from people, raised some awareness. They even got a volunteer for their Clean Energy Task Force. Let me see if I can quickly pull this up. I think it was baseline assessment. No. Let me look one more place. Nope, I can't find it. I got it somewhere, but I don't know. I guess we had it in there before. I mean, are we really going to do? What I can try to do is find that survey and send it around. propose a renewable energy and efficiency policy for new construction in town.
Yeah, we've been talking about that one for a few years.
Yeah, that would be a heavy lift.
Well, proposing it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Actually getting it passed would.
One of the bills that was before the legislature, and I don't know where it stands right now, is to have stretch codes in Connecticut. Massachusetts has stretch codes where there's the state building code, but I think municipalities are allowed to have a more ambitious, a stricter stretch code. But technically, I don't think we're allowed to have different building codes in town.
I'm not even sure how that would work. Stretch codes, like you can do this if you want.
You know what we could do, though, is at least make sure that efficiency and renewable energy are in some of our planning documents.
Yeah. Which I think you and I tried to get into with the plan development.
Yeah, the POCD, for example. Yep. Renewable energy and energy efficiency in town planning documents. Conduct an annual update on residential and business. This is the same thing here. Municipal energy usage, annual update on residential and business energy usage using Clean Energy Task Force benchmarking toolkit. I think that's the energy model that we just went through. Consider a moratorium on new natural gas service in town.
Yeah, we talked about that one too.
I think we leave consider.
Yeah, I think consider got in there because we thought we were really pushing water uphill.
They've struggled. I know they've done that in a couple places, Brookline, Mass, and others, and it's been really contested in the courts.
Yeah.
One of the things I would like to do, and I welcome your thoughts, is I want to go talk to like Mike Glidden, the planning director, and maybe have him come to a Clean Energy Task Force meeting and basically do two things. One is give us an update on what developments are bubbling in town, and two, advise us on how the Clean Energy Task Force could provide input. Because I'm not sure, what meetings we need to go to or how we need, and I'm not sure what the town can do even, I'll give you an example. There's a big development going in the center of town where Simsbury Echo used to be.
Yep.
It would be great if that did not use natural gas. And I don't know how much influence we could have on that, but maybe Mike could give us some
I think they're
tips.
probably pretty far down the road. They're building now.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if they're building, but they're doing site work for sure.
Yeah.
And if they're doing site work, they're pretty far down the road.
Because if we build another, I don't know how many houses that is, another 100 houses, whatever, with natural gas, we're just locking in another batch of committed emissions. This is a really good podcast, The Energy Gang. If you ever want to listen to it, this most recent episode featured this guy, Saul Griffiths, whose organization is called Rewiring America. And he had one of the statements he made was, there's this concept of committed emissions. The committed emissions are what will be emitted by all of the equipment that is, if we let it go till the end of its useful life. So all of our gas furnaces and oil burners until they go out, and cars. He said there's enough committed emissions today to already get to 1.5% to 2% global warming. So in order to stop, to get to any reasonable level of sustainability, all new equipment going in today needs to be electric. So that means no more gas furnaces, no more internal combustion, and that's obviously not going to happen. But we need to do everything we can, and I don't know how much we can, to at least be pointing out to people what we're doing. So.
Yeah, I think we'll have a hard time with that new development in town, honestly. I don't know what they're planning. I have no idea if they're putting gas lines in or what they're doing.
Yep. So the other one, the last one here is conduct an EV event. We did one a couple years ago.
Yeah, at what was it, Septemberfest?
Septemberfest, yeah.
Yep, you brought your car and that kid couldn't figure out where the motor was.
And apparently, yeah, and we coordinated with I think the New England Electric Automobile Association or something.
Yeah, we had a couple of them there.
Fairfield does a massive one each year, but it's all just a matter of sort of somebody helping to organize. But we could maybe do one around Septemberfest where we reach out to some of the organizations and the EV Club of Connecticut and get a bunch of people who have these cars. Talk to some of the dealers, the manufacturers, get one of some of the new Volkswagens, some of the Audis to bring a car over. Not too much work, and it's great. The people just kind of see them.
Just walk around and see like, oh yeah, there's a lot of choices.
So I'm going to leave that one in there for now.
Mark, I can work on that over the summer.
Great. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back over the stuff we looked at for sustainable CT and build a little ad in here. And I think if nothing else, and I'll send it back around, if everybody kind of looks at this page.
The page that we can't see?
The page that...
Yeah, that one.
I wish you would just pay attention.
I have a very short attention span.
This page, yep. Because this is, this really is the one that we're going to try to hold ourselves to.
Yeah.
So I'll send that back around.
Thank you.
All right. Why don't we quickly go through our agenda?
Oh, wait, we had an agenda?
We did. And are you at my
show? We did the update on, we didn't do the minutes. You guys didn't do the minutes for
minutes, yep.
Right. So I can pull those up. I think I had them here.
I got them.
I think Amy goes by Amy McLean.
I'll note that. Do you want me to make the updates to this?
That would be great. Are you able to do that, Phil?
Yeah, let me take care of that.
And we can talk. So Phil has agreed to become our secretary. Thank you so much, Phil.
Oh my God, you're now my favorite task force member.
Thank you. It didn't take that much.
It does, it doesn't necessarily mean that Phil takes minutes every single time, but you're kind of coordinating the material. So folks still.
No, I'm not. It's my favorite anymore. Never mind. That means I might have to do it.
Yeah, if we can, help Phil once in a while doing that, would be great. Other than that, anything?
No. I move we accept the minutes as written with the changes discussed.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do I have the agenda? I got the agenda. So we kind of talked about sustainable CT, Board of Ed. As Ray mentioned, they have issued an RFP for solar on the high school. It's not going to get done before the ZRECs run out this year, so it'll be whatever the new regime is. But they've also said they're committed to putting RFPs on solar for all new school roofs. That's great. And then with the referendum on Latimer Lane passing, we hopefully will be involved in some of the discussions on the energy retrofit, the renovation of that building. Nothing new on climate emergency resolution. We just spent a lot of time on energy plan. Any other business? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. So I think sometime in the fall we're going to be sort of merging energy and sustainability. So we'll see how that works out. But I think I know Amy was sorry she couldn't be here tonight. She is eager to get involved. You know what she's doing? She's like chair of I think she's chair of the Energy Efficiency Board, and you know the Transportation Climate Initiative (TCI) got pulled out of the budget. So she
Negotiated away.
She said they're trying to really put the pressure on right now to get that in a separate bill. So she is doing good work out there.
We will excuse her from the CETF meeting.
Yeah, and she's going to be great with, you know, she's got so much knowledge on this stuff. So I think we're going to do some good stuff this year. So I think it's a good plan. So let's try and maybe I said this last time, but maybe finish up the energy plan next meeting. All right. We are adjourned. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all. Have a
Take
good
care.
night.
See ya.